Hello viewers, Super GT here. Welcome to another Gran Turismo Sport video. Now we're going to take part in a series of very exciting and interesting races. Well, I mean, you can be the judge of that. Maybe you'll watch this video and you think those races are actually really boring. But I mean, we'll see. But do watch the whole thing, obviously, and then come to that judgment. Okay, first off, we're going to be starting from the back of the pack. Now the track, Sainty Croix in reverse. Now, we featured this track a fair few times in the recent months. Not this exact configuration, but this location. We're going to go up the inside of No Man's Island into the left-hander. Fantastic. Now, as I said, featured a couple of times. Because of the very long straights, one of which we're on now, this track promotes a lot of very good racing, but also some bad racing, as we're about to see here. I'm going to go up the inside, and it results in the death for a Frenchman. Let's take another look. I went for the move, and it's one of those where he's turned in, I'm in there late at the same time, and then he's just turned right into the wall. I don't know why he wanted to head into that barrier. He just wanted to visit our good friend Barrier, and who doesn't? Who doesn't? It was one of those. It was just one of those. So, onto the bridge, almost collecting Barrier once again. He's everywhere, that guy. He really is. Now, we caught up with this rather humongous fight for, what position is it? 9th. We'll look up the inside here, and the move wasn't really on from that far back, but then two of the drivers making horrendous mistakes just in front. We move up into 11th therefore. Got max power following us through. I started 15th, he started 16th. And we're going through the pack like a hot knife through butter, together. Now we come up against one of Cristiano Ronaldo's burner accounts here. Now we're going to go to the left. And he's going to squeeze us narrow, but I've got the space, I've got the room, so I'm going to take the position, move up into 10th. There's a bit of contact, not sure why. And Max Power once again following us through. And he's in turn going to go for the move here. But Ronaldo is going to come flying back, and we're not going to turn in on him. We'll just let him have that position. It wasn't the best of entries for me, I must be honest. But coming up the hill, we go back down to 12th. Bit frustrating. Ronaldo all over the place. Max Power moves over to the right in a real OG move. Gives me the slipstream. What a top guy. And we are therefore going to get back past Cristiano at the end of the bridge. Looks like there was an incident just up ahead. Who was that? It was Jamie MB91 with some sort of altercation off of the bridge. Now he's rather slow, still gathering momentum. We're going to look up the inside here. Space given between the two of us, so I can't run him too wide there, as he's still on my left hand side, and he's going to retake the position presumably here. He's going to have the left hand side into the final corner of the lap. Portuguese driver out of note. Ronaldo's coming back at it, and he doesn't really fancy giving me too much room on the exit. So really playing a very hard game there. I'm going to try to get back past him. Move to the right. And it's a late little switch. I was getting a little bit fed up with Ronaldo's antics here. So I'm going to have to really try to get past him. This guy really just did not want to let me beat him. I mean, I suppose that's the idea of racing really, isn't it? That you are supposed to beat your opponents. But here, I go for a move and he just brakes so late that he absolutely annihilates. Was that Jamie? Sent to the Shadow Realm. So we've just witnessed a murder. And Cristiano Ronaldo, most certainly very guilty on that occasion. And as we are running out of time, we are running out of laps, my main objective really is just to get back past him and get a top 10. And, Swedish driver up the inside from behind there. This race really had some good momentum going forward, but then as soon as we met our Portuguese friend here, the race really just began to unravel. But with just a couple of moments left, a couple of corners remaining. We're going to try to get within range to go for a move into the final corner. Perhaps one reminiscent of the very one he did just a lap ago. Into this very, very turn here. And look at that, late on the brakes, a big lunge, giving him a nice taste of his own medicine. And we move back up into 10th. So that was my first race here, Sainty Croix B. And we end up finishing in 10th. And that was a bit of a mess. Well, the first half was fine, the second half was a mess. So we go for qualifying here, try to improve our lap time, try to start a little bit further forward. Now the main thing I would say about this circuit, as before, it's a very wide track, therefore track width use, you really have to make the most of the full circuit. Now by our 6th lap here, 206.8, which is decent, but I know it could go quicker. So we're going to try to do that here. So good exit out of turn 1. This section is very tricky because of its undulating nature. The car sort of digs in, sometimes doesn't, as you go over the crest. And this long right-hander. A little bit wider than I liked. Look for that patch on the left there. You can brake just after it. Down to 2nd, back to 3rd for smoother acceleration on the way out. And we're about 2/10 up on a 206.8. So we're up for an improvement. If we can just keep this up to the end, that's a much better line through there. Not too bad at all. Good exit. By the way, we are using the Nissan GTR, which tends to be a very good car for this location because of its straight line speed. Lots of long straights around this circuit. At the end of the bridge, maybe a little bit wider than I'd liked for that left-handing. Your left wheels need to be on the curb. They're just grazing the 2 curbs on the little chicane there. Looking for a patch in the middle of the track. Dark patch, there it is. Brake just after it. Get the car in. Back into 3rd gear on the power, making the most of the track width, getting on the power to make sure you power out to the outside, digging 2 wheels onto the curb, getting 2 wheels onto the green area, onto the power area as possible. You see a theme developing, and then it's a run up to the line. We're about a 1/4 of a second up, so that's going to be a 206.5. Very happy with that lap. Took us, what's that, about 15 minutes to get it. So unfortunately, we got disconnected from that next race, so we had to wait a very long and frustrating 20 minutes, which felt like 20 years, for this next race, where, miraculously enough, that lap time was good enough for a pole position. I don't often get pole positions, so we're going to have to try to make the most of this. The main objective, really, of course, as ever, is to try to, well, win the race, but what I was about to say, really, is break the toe. So 3/4 of a second, get out of that area, and then you're not giving your opponents free speed down the straights. Now this is a very difficult track to break away from your opponents because of the length of the aforementioned straights. So just do all you can do, basically. Go as fast as you can, be as consistent as you can. Of course, when you're at the front, everything is well, I'll say easy, but it's as close as it is to the time trial, because there's no one in front of you and there's no slipstream to contend with. Now, just trying to stay out of the toe there of the Bulgarian driver as much as possible, moving left. He follows me eventually, but maybe I denied him a 10th by moving left and he didn't really expect it. So just all the little differences you can make, try to make them. Now, still about 3/10 ahead by this point here. Onto the bridge again, another straight. So he's going to gain once again. Although, must say, he must have made a mistake because that gap has already gone up to 8/10 and is therefore out of slipstream range. Now coming into this corner, the gap increases to near enough 1 second, and MB30 actually overtakes the Bulgarian driver, goes up to 2nd. So this is what you want, basically. When you're in the lead, you need the guys behind to start fighting and losing time with each other, and then that's your time to try to escape, and that's exactly what's happened here. MB30 gave me a good chase, but by the end of the race they all started fighting a little bit too much, and I was able to run out quite an easy winner in the end, 3.4 seconds or 3.5 seconds ahead by the time we finished that race, with a nice 206.8 to round off that race. So we get a pole, fastest lap, clean race, and the win. A rare occasion in Super GT folklore. But for the next race, the two who started behind me were now going to start in front of me. They obviously improved their qualifying lap. So this is a different race entirely. Starting from third, it's only 2 positions, but with only 3 laps to get the work done. The dynamic of the race is very different. I have to obviously attack, and as we briefly touched upon earlier, when you're behind, you have the view of the cars in front, which can be a distraction, especially when you're very close behind them, but also you have slipstream. So you have the benefit of slipstream, but it also means you have to watch out for your braking points, because you're going to be going into the corners a little bit quicker. So you do have to brake a slight bit earlier to counteract that. So this is where they start fighting. Bobby and MB30 go side by side there, and Bobby doesn't actually manage to complete that move. So he's just going to have to settle in behind, and they both lose a little bit of time there. Now onto the bridge. Again, slipstream available, most certainly very available. Bob moves over to the right hand side, and he brakes a little bit early here coming into the corner, so I'm just actually going to go up the inside, and that's quite an inadvertent move. It's just one of those where didn't really expect that to happen, but he just braked so early that, well, it just sort of had to happen. So we move up into second, and now we just need to close this gap down. He's about half a second ahead here. Just need to get that down and just make sure he does not get out of the slipstream range. So he only has to gain 2 tenths on me. But fortunately here, he makes a bit of a mistake on the exit. He loses maybe a tenth or 2 coming up towards the final corner then, and trying to use as much track width as possible. We both take a pretty good line through there, and I'm firmly in the slipstream now, moving away from the Bulgarian driver behind. And it's one of those where we could potentially go for a move here, but there's no need to be too rash. That would have been a bit of a lunge, as it's not the biggest braking zone, that one, and you do carry a bit of speed into that corner. Kept with him through this sector, and we're just going to play it smart, because all we need to do is stay very close to him going onto this straight, and we should be able to get a good overtake done. So he's going to defend the left hand side. Fair enough, it's the right side it's the correct side to defend. I'm therefore on the right hand side, which is going to be the outside for this long left, and there's not much I can do really. Not much you can do. Just hope that he overshoots. He doesn't really. He actually takes a good defensive line on the exit. I was looking for the cutback, and he took sort of the perfect. He positioned his car exactly where he needed to, and I couldn't really do anything about it. He goes a little bit wide there. Not the best exit, but not too bad. Is he going to defend it? He moves to the right, to the racing line, and I felt quite aggressive. It's a short race. You might as well go for the move. I'm going to go for it here. Into the left-hander off the bridge. I'm going to run him slightly wide, force him very close to the wall, and then in turn the battling has introduced player 3 into the battle, or player 4 if you like. The Frenchman comes in, so we're 3 abreast here coming to this corner. I'm going to brake fairly late in the centre, side by side with MB30, and then I'm going to have the inside moving through this left-hander. The Frenchman actually moves down to 4th, so it's all really kicking off now. I move defensive into the final turn, braking just before the 50-metre board, maybe about 75 metres before that corner. And all of a sudden, we have a very big race on our hands. Look at this, 5 players in with a shout of winning this one on the final lap. So it's a very, very close battle indeed. Much harder fought than the previous race. Side by side here with MB. And there's a queue of cars queuing up to try to get past me here. MB30 is going to take the lead into this right-hander. Slight bit of contact there with the Frenchman. Unsettles the car. We're momentarily 3 abreast. Side by side with the Frenchman now. I'm just going to sneak ahead here into the braking zone for the left-hander. Crucially, we have remained in the slipstream range. Oh my goodness. R4M MB30. Schoolboy error, just running a little bit too wide there in anticipation of the straights, making the mistake and dropping down to 5th. So we take the lead, drag race with the Frenchman who's on home soil. The crowd are roaring him on. The crowd around there somewhere, I'm sure of it. And they make contact. This is my moment to try to pull away I'm in the lead at the right kind of time, because now everyone's a little bit desperate as we approach the latter stage of the race. And onto the bridge. Again, look at that. The gap comes up to a second, and I have been unleashed. And we've managed to win the race. A really good race. Really interesting, really exciting. And it's going to be 2 in a row for Super GT. Rare occasions. Tell your grandchildren about this day, because it is a momentous occasion. Okay, we go on to race number... What race are we on now? 3? No, 4. Race number 4. So this one, we're going to flick through it quite quickly. It's the same people, but the dynamic of the race is slightly different. Because, well, no two races are ever the same. Even if it's the same track, same cars, same people, you have to use different skills in each race. This one, we're going to go for a very similar move on Bobby there, the Bulgarian, off of the bridge, and take second. So in some ways, it's actually a very similar race, and I'm talking a load of rubbish. But here, MB30 makes a big, crucial error on the exit of the final turn. This in turn gives us the momentum to go up the inside, and I overshoot it, get a little bit too keen, and I didn't judge the slipstream correctly because, of course, in the toe we were going slightly faster than you normally would. So we overshot that corner. So coming through here, is he going to go a little bit wide? Yes, he is. Just slightly onto the grass. He's going to go to the left, take the position, up into the lead again. We're halfway into the race. Now he bump drafts me here, so it seems like he wanted to cooperate with me and work together to try to pull away from the pack. That's fine, I can do that. But then here, the ultimate betrayal, I suppose, he didn't really specify how long that truce was on for, and he goes up the inside. And he is going to muscle his way through. It's one of those ones where I thought maybe I could fight this around the outside, but then I just back out at the last moment. But then we're going to go for the insta reply into the final corner and retake the position, park it on the apex so he couldn't do a cutback, although he kind of does. And this is where things get rather interesting. 4 of us now coming down the straight. Look how close we are together. And I was in fear of losing many positions here because I'm on the outside. I'm not in the ideal position, although I kind of switched this situation around by keeping it around the outside, keeping it on the right hand side, and this is going to give me the inside for this right hander up the hill. So that could have been me down to 4th. I managed to keep it in the lead, and then into this left hander here, some sort of chaos unravels behind, because as you can see the gap opens up and MB30 ends up in a load of smoke and out of the race pretty much, and we win the race 3 in a row. We are going to take a look at that replay to see what happened, but we get the faster lap, clean race, another win. So things are going well in this race. I feel comfortable. Let's take a look at that replay though and analyse exactly what happened, a bit of a post-mortem analysis. So this is that 3rd lap when everyone was so close. Look how close that is. That's absolutely ridiculous, but just shows you how good the racing can be on this game. Even though it's 4 years old now, Gran Turismo Sport reached 4 years old a few days ago, and yet we are still getting some really good races, and it's really good to see that. So MB30 goes up the inside there. He spins, and the Bulgarian driver into the side of him, into the back of him. And I'm sure he didn't. It's just one of those where like it looks deliberate. It really looks deliberate. I'm sure it's just one of those where it's like there's nowhere for this guy to go, so he just. Yeah, well, actually, he quits the race in a bit of shame there. But I'm sure I know that guy's a good driver. He's a clean driver. But this is the guy who came through from 5th, comes through all of the trouble, eventually takes 2nd with this move here off of the bridge, and I think he didn't regard that move as a clean one because he let this guy go back through just before the finish. So a bit of fair driving there, a bit of clean driving. I don't think he thought it was fair, but we're going to go once more. We'll quickly recap this race because this is an example of how it can go wrong. So, we've done well. We've finished first from first and then finished first from 3rd twice. So we're starting 3rd again. And this is the decision that I make wrong. I should have gone to the inside there. And instead the Frenchman takes the inside. He actually makes 2 positions there. So the Frenchman actually making the correct decision, going up 2 positions. And I dropped down to 4th. So with only 1 and let's say a third of 1 1/3 laps left to go, I'm in the wrong sort of place here. You know, well, I mean, 4th isn't the right place. 1st is the correct place. Now the Bulgarian driver just makes a mistake, and it's just one of those things. I just get caught up in it. Just an unfortunate position to be in. And that's just what happens when you're in 3rd rather than 1st. You're more likely to get caught up in something. This Polish driver getting a penalty, and we retake our 3rd position. And not such a bad result. But here I want to do something monumental and restore the great man that is R4M Scott Speed.
Oh, yes!
What an absolute hero. The hero we all need in our lives. R4M Scott Speed. Now look how quick we get our first overtake done as Scott Speed. Barely 4-5 seconds into the race. Such is the prowess of Mr. Speed. He doesn't need much time to get warmed up. In fact, make that 2 positions in 17 seconds. He does not need much time here. And he's just getting warmed up. It's been about 8 months, I think, since I've done a race on this account. And, you know, it's good to be back. It's fantastic to be back infiltrating the Americas as a Brit. Let's see what we can do here against our residents of the Americas. And, oh, a Canadian into the barrier. Barrier, a popular man today. Okay, we catch up with this little group here at the end, towards the end of lap number 1. The Brazilian just getting shoved wide there. We're going to go to the left-hand side. I think there was a bit of lag. It looked like I pushed him. And he sort of just gained speed all of a sudden. Down the hill into turn number. I'm just gonna say 13, but that's a complete guess, and it's probably wrong. So I'm just talking rubbish now. Exit of the final corner. We're going to get into the toe of ADRX Cam. Are we going to get this move complete into the braking zone of turn 1? Yes, we are. Lovely stuff. And then onto the tail of WRX on, WRX off. Fantastic name. Do what we need to do here. Just get into the toe. I'm going to move out of the toe because you want to time your momentum, because you don't want to meet them on this kink here. You want to meet them just after, as we have done. So perfect timing on the slipstream, and we're going to get that position up into 6th place. This American dude here getting shoved wide, no momentum on the exit. We're going to go past him up into 5th. Looks like some carnage going on back there as well. More carnage in front as the Chilean driver getting absolutely rifled into the barrier. Canadian kind of just stopping on the racing line. I just was not sure which side he wanted to go. We're going to skip forward 1 lap there, and we are on for 2nd place, which would be a great return from 13th, and especially for the return of Scott Speed, which is always just such a monumental occasion. It should really be a holiday, a national holiday in the United States, whenever Scott Speed plays Gran Turismo Sport. Looking for a move into here? Not going to happen. Could we out-drag him towards the line? I don't get the best of exits, and to be fair to Newt, 332, he kept it nice and calm on this final lap, and I wasn't able to overhaul him. So we're going to finish in 3rd. And still a great result. Started 13th, up 10 positions. I'll take it. Thank you so much for watching, everyone. Hope you enjoyed the video. Give us a sub if you're new and not already subbed, and have a nice day. I'll catch you next time. Goodbye.